Morning, guys. Happy Monday. I hope you've all had an amazing weekend. This is your daily market outlook for today. Apologies for the past 10 days, 7 days, just some technical issues with YouTube, which wouldn't allow me to basically upload. So I do apologize. But before we get into this, well, again, I'm glad to be back, to be fair as well, just to let you guys know I'm glad to be back doing these. And hopefully there's no more issues going forward. But before we get into the charts, understand that the content on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Understand that any past performances discussed does not guarantee future results. You are responsible, as always, for your own financial decisions. So, going into this week, no news as of today, but going into Wednesday, we do have CPI, as you can see. So CPI on Wednesday, core PPI on Thursday, and that's pretty much all we've got to discuss in regards to red folder news for the dollar. Obviously, CPI being the main one, and that's something obviously we should certainly keep an eye on going into this week. But as like I said today, nothing that we should be discussing. Majorly. So, what has the charts been doing? And obviously, what can we discuss? Well, pretty much last week, a lot of consolidation from a daily standpoint. You can see that we have been trapped in between just this whole area here on the dollar. No real breaks upwards or downwards, realistically. You can see from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we have obviously had a short in internal bearish structure, but nothing, like I said, major, which is annoying, of course. I'm thinking we're building up a load of liquidity. If you look at this, we're building up a load of liquidity from, this side and also from, this side as well. So eventually, of course, we know we're either going to be attacking either one of these. And obviously, we just got to be aware of that. The one thing that I'm going to, obviously keep an eye on is the fact that looking at the dollar, um, if we do break above, all of these highs with a nice candle closure, then we should be coming into, these daily supplies and then potentially getting that short away. That is obviously one scenario. Or another scenario is if we do obviously get a big, larger break from here and we create a daily supply, we could just carry on shorting from this area. So that's something to keep an eye on in regards to the daily on the four. Now, looking at the 4 hour, we can see that we obviously had internal bullish. When we came into that supply, we've had obviously a mass amount of expansion. We've still got daily supply areas all the way up here. Let me just point these out. All the way up here. You can see 4 hour supply area here, 4 hour supply area up here. Um, and obviously, as you guys should be able to see, we have a large imbalance below this 4 hour supply. We also have a large imbalances below this 4 hour supply as well. So ideally, we of course would want to see market rebalance itself eventually. To come into these areas, fill in the imbalances, and then potentially get a short away. But as of right now, the markets are not doing that. So we've got to focus on what the markets is doing currently. And what market is doing currently is that's my 4 hour lower high, and this is my 4 hour lower low. You can see we had lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We yet at this moment in time to obviously go and create a new lower low. So looking at this scenario, what I am interested in personally would be this 4 hour supply area. So seeing if the dollar can come into here and then obviously give us that next leg down. If we do break above this high, then of course, um, you could be looking at dollar then going bullish. So just keep an eye out on that going into this week. If we do have a quick look at the 1 hour, you can see where market reacting is reacting right now. We've had, if you look, we've obviously had Asian. You can see the blue box is Asian. You can see there's a little bit of imbalance that we had here, and this being our 1 hour demand area. So going into today, we've had London Open, come into this 1 hour demand, and then we've had this beautiful reaction away. So if we're going to carry on bullish into this 4 hour supply, I'm going to keep an eye out on this next 1 hour demand area. So potentially looking at if market comes in and just gives us this bullishness up until this 4 hour supply and then make a decision from there. So let's see how that plans out. Now, the other major pairs haven't really been aligning as nice as the dollar, but before we get into that, I'll just quickly look at the higher time frames. So daily, you can see obviously, we're internal bullish. We are in this daily supply area at this moment in time, and we have, of course, started to slow down. You can see markets give a punch above into that supply, and then it has slowed down a little bit. So, is this now going to be the next, expansion phase to go and create that new lower low potentially? But at this moment in time, if you look at the internal, it is bullish. So going into the four. You just got to keep an eye on the fact that these blue dots just represent the structure that we're in. Higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So for me personally, this is my next 4 hour demand area. I would like to see if market obviously comes into here. Do we get that shift to obviously then carry on bullish from this demand? We've got imbalance to fill as well. So that is one of my main thoughts. Looking at the 1 hour, as I said, it's a little bit different to the dollar. The dollar didn't take the Asian low. The dollar obviously came into that demand. Whereas EU, what's EU done? Well, EU's took out the high of Asian. We've took out the high of Asian, as you can see. And obviously now we've got that bearishness away. So for me personally, depending where the dollar is, if market pulls back a little bit, this could be the next 1 hour supply area. So let's say when the dollar gets into this demand, if it aligns with with EU coming into this supply, that could be the next area for market to just carry on shorting away from. Um, so yeah, definitely keep an eye out on this 1 hour supply area because we've had Asianites talk, and obviously it does align with what the dollar is doing at this moment in time. So yeah, man, keep an eye out on that. Going into the Great British Pound US dollar, if we go to the daily time frame, what can we see? Well, pretty simple. We obviously had market react from this daily supply. If you look at the internal, structure here, we have the daily telling us, of course, that we broke this low. So daily change the trend from here, from this supply. And then obviously now we have pretty much come into the extreme level up here. But very important to understand, a little bit tricky this scenario because yes, structure-wise we have broke this low. And it looks obviously like daily is bearish. But what can we see from the left here? We have this imbalance to fill this gap here. And then we have this daily demand. This is the only place where market was going to give us the reaction it has done. And that's why we've had this bullishness up. So just be aware of the fact that, of course, we're reacting out this demand and we could potentially just go and carry on, of course. So I'm just so very, very, very aware of that personally. And I think you guys should be as well. But let's have a look at the 4 hour. 4 hour time frame, what is it doing? Well, I'm just going to point out to the fact that we do have this area of four. Oh, what am I pressing here? This area of 4 hour supply up here, which we haven't yet touched. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we get into this supply, if we do. But looking at structure wise, as marked out, you can see that from market going short to now market going long. The 4 hour range that we're in is this blue dot here. That's my 4 hour high, and that's my last 4 hour lower low. Yes, we've obviously inside this area still, but as you can see, we had a little bit of imbalance that moved this. A little bit of imbalance here. I can just zoom in from this wick to this wick here. Consolidation, which is obviously our demand area. And then market obviously came into that demand area and then obviously give this bullishness away. So for me personally, of course, I want to see this demand area met. I want to see market come into this demand area and then potentially get that bullishness away. Does that align with the dollar? Well, yes, it does if we do get into this supply. So ideally, that's what I want to see. I'm also not stupid to see the fact that we had this engulfing candle here, and then we've left this for our demand area. So this is my more favorable area, of course. We've got a lot of imbalance, but if you look, we have a pullback, we have this bullishness, this bullish engulfing candle, and now market's making its way back here. So also, I'm just saying to you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if the market just did this, because market is moving weird. It has been for a little while. So again, it could potentially do that. Going into the four, Going into the four, again, very, very different to the dollar. Because if we look at the dollar, we can see that, the internal here is bullish. Whereas if we look at the GU, internal looks even, bullish as well. So for me personally, I do not like the look of the Great British Pound at this moment in time. Simply because we've had a large run up above these Asian highs. We took out obviously these highs as well. Um, there's nothing really that I can look to see potential shorts from. And if the dollar looks bullish, why would I look bullish on GU? Hopefully, you guys are getting what I'm saying because if this does carry on bullish, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, there's a 4 hour and also 1 hour demand area here, as you guys can probably see. But I don't like the look of potential buys for GU because of the dollar. If the dollar gives us confirmation for sells on the dollar, then of course I'll look for buys on the Great British Pound. Um, so ideally what I'll be waiting for is seeing if we can break this low. And then this is from a 1 hour perspective. If we break this low, then potentially looking at maybe shorting into this area here. So yeah, let's see what GU does going into today. NU and AU, let's have a look. So extremely consolidating, as you guys can see for yourselves. All last week, just sideways, pretty much. Not the best, scenarios to look for trading, market analysis and trading setups with. But we do have this daily demand. You can see from a structure, we obviously have this. So ideally, we want to see market filling this imbalance. Let's just look here. You can see we have this little gap from this wick to that wick, filling this imbalance, and then potentially go and create a higher high. So that is, scenario number one. Now, looking at the 4 hour, you can see the 4 hour is extremely bullish. This is still my 4 hour higher low, and this is my 4 hour higher high. All here is consolidation. Um, the one thing I can obviously see is the fact that probably most likely we go down to the one, it'd be clearer. But from this body here, we've had a reaction. If we go down to the one, let's see if it's there. You can see from this imbalance here, that's where markets give this bullish reaction away from. So, for me personally, my next 4 hour demand area is from this area here. And ideally, I would like to see come into here, give us that shift, and then go bullish away from this forward demand, filling this imbalance, the usual that we look for. Now, of course, if we just quickly look at the dollar again, if the dollar's bullish from the internal, then NU we expect bearish. The one thing I can see is we are in this sort of 4 hour supply area at this moment in time. Now I'm going to go down to the 1 hour and see if I can see anything different. Not necessarily. So for me personally, we're obviously looking at this as more of a 4 hour supply area, not the best, of course. We've now taken out Asian highs. I'm just aware of obviously this area of demand. This is an area of 1 hour demand. Now, for me personally, if the dollar's bullish, then I obviously want to see some sort of shift. Are we getting that at this moment in time? No, we're not. The dollar's obviously now making its way back into this demand, which means that we're still getting that bullishness away from this demand on NZUSD. So yeah, it's annoying NZ and GU to be fair. But again, this is just a scenario that we've got to keep an eye on. Again, EU is definitely my more favorable looking thing at this moment in time. Going into AUD USD, if we look at the daily time frame, we're still inside that daily supply area. And we've obviously slowed down a hell of a lot. But if you look at the internal bullish here, we have higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. Where is this Monday candle come to? Well, if we just mark this out, you can see market has just dipped into this daily demand here, and it's slowing down. So if we go down to the four, what is that telling me? Well, what that is telling me is the fact that looking at the four, you can see that that's where market came into this demand. We didn't get in any of these 4 hours. It was more daily. We had this bullishness away. We broke this high. I had these two scenarios here. This being my more favorable area here. And then I also have this, which I was wanting to see market dip lower, but it decided to react from this area of demand. Now, we've had this bullishness away, broke this high here. So rinse and repeat, all I'm looking for is if market can come into this area of 4 hour demand. Oh, 4 hour demand area here, filling all this imbalance, and then potentially get like this, get this move away. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So that align with the dollar? Well, of course, if we get into this 4 hour supply area. Now, looking at the one as currently took out Asian high. As you can see, took out Asian high. And we're starting to get this movement down. Now, for me with Asian, I'm just going to keep my eye on this 1 hour supply area because we've had market come up, take out Asian highs, and then we've had this, bearish engulfing candle here. So for me, that could align with when the dollar gets here. And then, as you guys can probably already tell, what I'm saying is, comes into here, and then potentially gets that next move down. But again, it's got to align with what the dollar is doing. Going into USD CAD, as you can see, we broke this demand area now. This daily supply just missed, but you can see market obviously had a reaction, came back up. Where do we come into? I don't know why these are not marked out. I did mark them out. This daily supply area here. We had a pullback and then market move again. And then where did it come into? Sorry, what do we have now? This next daily supply area. Next daily supply area going into the four. You can see that 4 hour is pretty clean. Beautiful trade away from here. Next 4 hour supply area would be, well, where's market consolidating? You can see the consolidation before this move down. So I'm going to go off these three candles here as the next 4 hour supply area. Just quickly looking at this scenario, I'm going to look left and what I can see, this is why it's always important. In fact, yeah, if we drag this across, let me just look at that here. You can see that markets come and reacted from this demand area. We've dipped, took out the low, and we're getting that market move away. So you can see structure-wise, we want to obviously see market eventually come up into here, fill in this imbalance, and then obviously go. What we could potentially happen is maybe another one of these scenarios where market doesn't give us a full pullback and then it just does this again. So that's just something we're gonna have to keep an eye on. But hopefully we do get that imbalance refill and we come into this 4 hour supply. Now looking at the one, what can we see? Let's just move this a sec. So at this moment in time, I'm just looking at the 2 hour. Yeah, that 2 hour candle is a bit more appealing to me here. You can see we had that imbalance on the 2 hour. If we go down to the one, you can see that little bit of imbalance here. And that's why market is dipped into, taking out Asian long, which is this. And now we're getting some sort of bullishness away. Again, if the dollar does carry on bullish, then I would expect market to carry on bullish with USD CAD. I haven't seen nothing at this moment in time to look at, but you guys can obviously go down to lower time frames and find some sort of entry. Now, going into USD CHF, you can pretty much see, if you look at the daily time frame we had, this is our daily lower low here. We had this bullishness up, creating a new daily high. Market came back. It was not the best, but it came back to here. Now, I'm going off this last this last body candle here as to where market is now reacting. Um, so yeah, pretty ugly to be fair, because even this part was ugly here, but we had two big candles into this demand. We filled in any imbalances that we had, and we've just been stalling. If we look at the 4 hour time frame, you can see we had a 1 hour demand area, which is where market reacted from. Um, Looking at this scenario, we had this area of demand from the four, which stuck beautifully. Market came in, took out the low. So again, another positive demand area, liquidity sweep, and now we're getting that bullishness away. So if we just look at the 1 hour and the 2 hour, 1 hour and the 2 hour, there's nothing really as clear to be fair. Apart from this 15 minute, this 15 minute demand area here. So yeah. Anyway, that is USD CHF. But again, if the dollar does carry on bullish from here, I expect USD CHF to be bullish as well from here. But just quickly look at the four. If it does align, it could be this next area as a 4 hour supply. But I don't really like the look of USD CHF, just being honest. Just looking at this, I don't know, I don't like the look of it. This looks a lot more cleaner structure for me than USD CHF at this moment in time. So yeah, let's see how that plays out. Okay, let's have a look at USD Japanese yen. So what I'm going to quickly show you guys, if we just go to the weekly, I'm going to quickly show you guys something that's very important, because obviously I know we do a lot on the daily, but never be afraid to go to the weekly, or the monthly time frame, because when we have a move like these, there's a reason for it happening. Now, if you go to the weekly, what can we see? You guys who know how to trade with me, you can see this weekly demand area. We have this imbalance here. If we just go back to the daily, what can we see? The fact that market has been trending that much, we will have so much liquidity built here. So many stop losses, break evens that have been built up, because obviously that's just a bullish scenario. And then it takes, after weeks of this, it takes one, two candles, three candles to just completely wipe that out. It's an intention behind that. Hopefully that makes sense. So from here, daily is not the best, but I'm going to focus on a weekly candle and then look at the 4 hour. What can we see? You can see we obviously have this 4 hour range that you can see, and we're coming into that supply area soon. I'm just going to quickly look at this. The imbalance is there, so we just tapped into that. Why have we had this reaction from here? Can you see anything left? Yeah, I can see the fact that we had this area of demand. How is that a valid area of demand? Well, what's above it as well? Imbalance from this wick to this body. Liquidity, all this liquidity lows, manipulation, expansion. So looking at the 1 hour, It's going to be interesting to see how we react from here as a 1 hour supply. Doesn't really align with the dollar at this moment in time, but it's going to be interesting to see how we react from this 1 hour supply, as I just said. And then obviously bullishness is, yeah, it's just happening. I can't really see much to discuss in regards to where I'd be potentially looking to enter for USD Japanese yen. Yeah, okay. I don't like USD Japanese yen from a higher time frame. Apart from the fact that we are obviously in that 1 hour supply to keep an eye on. But yeah, man, that is the daily market outlook for today, guys. I hope that you got some value. Again, apologies about last week, but we are back now, and that is all that matters. But other than that, guys, if you've got any questions, feel free to obviously put them into the comment section below. Don't forget as well to like this video and to make sure you got your notifications turned on. Other than that, take care and God bless.